What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy Pee Wee the Plug, 1/4 through the wire, #1 Knicks fan in the world, aka Mr. Know-It-All, and we got the trade deadline reaction episode. I normally call these NBA Weekly, but I don't care what we call them today, because today was cracking. If you like me and you're a basketball fan or you're on social media like Twitter or whatever, today was a marvelous day, even though we didn't even get some of the trades that we wanted. Which we will talk about. Some guys didn't get traded after we had all of this speculation and hype building up and suspense to think that they were going to be traded. They didn't even get traded. But what I liked about today was the fact that it felt like everybody through the wire community, basketball community, different fans of different teams, we were all on Twitter watching the deadline and the trade deadline happen in real time. Everybody was refreshing their feed. We all getting the news simultaneously, reacting and seeing all the reactions from different people and different fans of different teams. All of that was great. But for what y'all came for, let's dive right into the trades. Some trades I'm going to talk about more than others. Obviously, some were bigger than others. The minor ones I will mention, you know what I mean? Just so I don't neglect anybody's team at all. But obviously, like I said, the significant trades are the ones we're going to spend a little bit more time with. So yesterday, to start us off with, the first official trade deadline trade that I would say happened yesterday. It was involving the Sacramento Kings and the Detroit Pistons. And basically what we have is the Kings are sending a 2021 second round pick via the Los Angeles Lakers. And then they're going to send their own 2024 second round pick along with Corey Joseph to the Detroit Pistons and receive DeLon Wright. Now, like I said, it's one of those minor trades, nothing crazy. It doesn't change the landscape of basketball or anything like that. But it's a trade that makes sense to me. The Kings are getting a guy in DeLon Wright who fits better with the team that they have right now. Could give them some type of chance to maybe make a run or just be a better team. And then the Detroit Pistons obviously are going through a rebuild, so they want as many pieces or, picks that can turn into pieces as possible, even if it means second round picks. So they load up on that. And then they get a veteran guard in Corey Joseph, who I doubt his future long term is with Detroit, but nevertheless, both sides get something that they can walk away with happy, and that's that deal. Now, the second deal that we're going to talk about is a deal that started off the official Thursday trade deadline. I woke up to this trade, and it's the Denver Nuggets reacquiring JaVale McGee from the Cleveland Cavaliers for Isaiah Hartenstein and two protected future second round picks. Denver is giving up a second round pick from 2027, and then they're giving up a 2023 protected second round pick that's protected through pick 46. So a lot of these trades gonna have, again, future second round picks like the Kings gave to the Pistons, and now we have Denver giving up two second round picks to Cleveland. And again, Cleveland is kind of like the Detroit Pistons. Cleveland's rebuild is a little bit more in place than the Detroit Pistons. But again, we have a team that's trying to put the pieces together. They're rebuilding and they have a clear direction. So they give up a veteran center like JaVale McGee. They get back a young guy like Isaiah Hartenstein, who's played for about a couple teams already in his career. And then they get the significant picks that they're hoping to turn into some type of asset in the near future. Now, from Denver's point of view, you get a guy who can be a legitimate backup to Jokic. Obviously, Jokic is going to play the bulk minutes of games and whatnot. But for those small amount of moments or minutes when Jokic isn't in the game, you have a proven veteran championship center in JaVale McGee. We must remember and put the respect on JaVale McGee. He's a three-time champion, after all, who's going to be a lob threat. He's going to give you a little bit of rim protection, some more size, and give you, like I said, that veteran presence who's been through the playoff runs and the championship runs with the Golden State Warriors and last year's Los Angeles Lakers. So I like it for that perspective. I like it for both teams. There's no reason for the Cleveland Cavaliers to hold on to a veteran like JaVale McGee. So since you don't need him, you have Jared Allen, you give him to a team that needs him, and you get two future second round picks and a young center, Isaiah Hartenstein. I doubt he's going to be in Cleveland's long-term plans, but the picks in exchange for the veteran is a theme we'll see, especially these second round picks. The second round picks have been a thing that was just heard so much today. Like, second round picks, future second round picks. They're giving up two second round picks. He's getting traded just for a second round. It was so many second round picks that it makes me a little disappointed in my team from a certain aspect, which we will probably at some point get into. But now, this trade right here, this trade is the one, like I said, the trade last night let us know, like, okay, tomorrow's going to be exciting. Then we wake up to the JaVale McGee trade, and it's like, okay, it's kind of getting the blood working. Everybody's kind of waking up like, okay, let's get this ball rolling. And then, boom, we have the Chicago Bulls acquiring Nikola Vucevic and Al-Farouq Aminu from the Orlando Magic. And in exchange, they're giving up Otto Porter, Wendell Carter Jr., and then 2 first-round picks. They're giving up the 2021 first-round pick of this year and then the 2023 first-round pick in 2 years. So, boom. This is a big one. This is a trade nobody's seen coming, partly because Orlando talked about how much they valued Nikola Vucevic and how they would want this Jrue Holiday type of package. And, you know, everybody was speaking like, hey, their asking price is probably too much right now, as it should be. But you know, maybe nobody's going to press the button on that because everybody feel like they can compete to some certain extent. Nobody is feeling like they're sellers. You know what I mean? Everybody is like, oh, we have potential to play in a play-in game to maybe make the playoffs. So nobody was thinking of putting together some crazy package to get Nikola Vucevic. But little did we know the Orlando Magic were going to decide to have a full-blown fire sale, which we'll get to the rest of the picks that they did today. But yeah, this was a big one. For me, this does a lot for Chicago. And I think their front office deserves a round of applause because they had a hell of a day. But this signals to their star player, Zach LaVine, that we want to prioritize what you want to prioritize. And Zach LaVine is a player who's as talented as he is. He hasn't played in the playoffs yet. But he just made his first All-Star game. And now he's trying to make his first playoff appearance. And this is the Bulls letting him know that they believe in him. They think that he's good enough to get them there with help. And Nikola Vucevic is the help. And they gave up some stuff to get him. They didn't give up too much. You know what I mean? Like Otto Porter is obviously a guy that been waiting to wash their hands with. That was a situation that just didn't work out the way that we all thought it would. Wendell Carter, a lottery pick, 7th overall pick, hasn't played to his fullest potential. You know, and a lot of that is for a bunch of reasons. They've had coaching issues. They've had weird directional moves. They haven't been able to stay healthy. So I think it was time to cash in on that as well. I'm not mad at them for giving up on that train, even though he's still young and has potential. It just wasn't working out. And I like when teams just call it what it is and they move on instead of like waiting and trying to squeeze out every single chance of potential that they can get, unless we're talking about a star player. But even what I've seen of Wendell Carter as of now, I'm not sure if you're ever going to get a star out of him. And I don't even think he was drafted to be a star. So you just move on. You call it what it is. You go in a different direction. No hard feelings. It just didn't work out for both sides. He gets to get a new change of scenery, and then they get Nikola Vucevic. But when I look at what the Magic got, it makes me disappointed in other teams who could have put together a chance to get Nikola Vucevic. When I look at the Boston Celtics, if I was a Boston Celtic fan right now, I'd be a little frustrated, because when I see that it only took 2 first-round picks to get Vucevic, I'm questioning why we didn't do it. And who knows, maybe they did, or maybe the Chicago Bulls were just the team that said, hey, let's just give it a try to get Vucevic, and they got him when nobody else thought it was a realistic chance that he'd be moved. But yeah, when I look at the Boston Celtics in particular, who need an inside presence, they have the 2 first-round picks because it was rumored that they were trying to dangle that for Aaron Gordon. And then when you talk about Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, Marcus Smart, and 2 first-round picks, is, to me, in my opinion, is just as good as Otto Porter, Wendell Carter, and 2 first-round picks, because Robert Williams is a young center who has potential. He's been playing good. You know, Wendell Carter, you're getting him, and he still has potential, and he's young. But like, even the most recent things he's been involved in, like he just recently got benched. I'm not sure I'm thrilled to go get a young player who recently was just getting benched. You know what I mean? Like, for a guy who got traded his damn self. So, you know, the Magic were able to get first-round picks. Obviously, that's the direction they're trying to do, which I respect, and I love the Magic for going in this direction. I don't know. I feel like they maybe potentially could have gotten more. If they had Vucevic, you know, on a for sale flyer like they did everybody else damn near on their roster, or that they moved. Like Aaron Gordon was like, for sale, we're trying to trade him, he's available. If they would have did that, in the upcoming weeks of the trade deadline, I feel like they would have definitely got probably somewhat more, even from the Bulls. Like Wendell Carter, again, is a cool prospect. He's young, but you still have Mo Bamba that you want to see how he's going to do now that Vucevic is gone. But now he's right back competing with Wendell Carter. I maybe would have saw if I could get Lauri Markkanen potentially, because for me, depending on how Mo Bamba plays and how invested they are in Mo Bamba, if you could potentially put out a front court that is Mo Bamba, Lauri Markkanen, and Jonathan Isaac, I kind of like that. Now you're in a situation where, and I understand they're rebuilding and they're just trying to accumulate young talent, but once you just put Mo Bamba in that same situation again. Now he's competing with Wendell Carter. You're going to have to choose between one. I don't know. But they were able to get the picks. And now they have a clear-cut direction on what they're doing and how they're rebuilding. But the Chicago Bulls are a big winner, not only for Vucevic and obviously what he can do for that team because he's an all-star player, but you're also getting Al-Farouq Aminu, who's a veteran wing guy who's been on a lot of playoff teams, and he can give you that veteran wing versatility, playing the 3 and the 4, switchable defender, and he's going to be that guy that's there, especially when Pat Williams is giving you growing pains. You know what I mean? Al-Farouq Aminu is a reliable option to have off of that bench for the Bulls in this upcoming playoff push that they're about to make. So that was a big one. That was a very, very big one. And then the next one, again, comes from the Orlando Magic with them trading Evan Fournier to the Boston Celtics for 2 second-round picks. Again, I like this trade for Boston just because I think Evan Fournier is a good pickup for just two second-round picks. I think he's going to give them some wing depth because now, Marcus Smart could potentially come off the bench, or maybe Evan Fournier come off the bench. I'm not sure, but you have Kemba, Smart, or Fournier, and then you'll have Brown, Tatum, and then Fournier or Smart, like I said, is coming off the bench. And you still have that interior presence that needs to be fulfilled. This doesn't answer their questions at all. I've seen Boston Celtic fans say that, like, hey, cool, we got Evan Fournier, but that doesn't solve or fill the holes that we have as a team. And I understand that, but you got to find ways to get better, and this is the way that they get better. And you got to give them credit for doing that. So again, I was a little disappointed with this from the Magic because the same sentiment with Vucevic. I'm not saying Evan Fournier is like some super valuable guy that would have got you some crazy return, but I feel like if you had put it out there more, or as much as they advertise Aaron Gordon being for sale, I think if they would have did the same thing and just put it out there in the incoming weeks, hey, we're having a fire sale. Everybody's going to be available. This is the direction we're trying to go. You might have would have gotten more. You know what I mean? Potentially. Maybe some team out there maybe would have gave up Evan Fournier. Maybe a younger player. I'm not sure, but it just seems like 2 second-round picks is a tad bit of an undersell for Fournier. And I know he's coming off an expiring deal. And I know Evan Fournier isn't some all-star guard or anything, but I think Evan Fournier can contribute to some decent teams out there. You know what I mean? He would have helped Philly. I'm not even going to name the teams. Any team that's in the playoffs or contending upper echelon would love the shooting and the scoring that Evan Fournier can bring on the wing. And then, hey, after this year, if it works or not, you let him walk into free agency. But 2 second-round picks, for me, that's good and decent for Boston. So I definitely got to give Danny Ainge the credit for that, even for, he missed on some things like the Vucevic situation. But this was decent, in my opinion. So the next one, again, is involving the Orlando Magic. So now this is the 3rd trade in a row, and this is all how it happened early in the day for people that may have been at work or in class or anything, or just wasn't in the timeline like me and the rest of the basketball community. These all happened the same order, same way, just rapid right after each other. Orlando Magic fire sale. The Denver Nuggets acquire Aaron Gordon from the Orlando Magic in return for Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and a 1st-round pick. And then the Magic are also going to send Gary Clark to Denver. So Denver is getting Aaron Gordon and Gary Clark, and then they're trading Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and the 1st-round pick. I like this for the Magic. This is a winning trade for the Magic. The Nuggets win as well. But I look at the Magic in this trade, in this scenario, and say, for them to get back RJ Hampton, a 1st-round pick, and Gary Harris isn't bad at all. I like this because a day or so ago, or less than a week ago, nobody knew what the value of Aaron Gordon was. It was weirdly gauged. I saw the Celtics potentially trying to trade 2 first-round picks, but you don't know how true that is. Not sure if Aaron Gordon is is bringing you back 2 first-round picks, especially when Vucevic only got 2. Don't know what to think of that. Is Aaron Gordon getting you any picks back, any first-round picks? Or is it just going to be a package of second-round picks? Is he getting a young player? So for them to get R.J. Hampton in a first-round pick, and then you get Gary Harris, like I said, after already getting the 2 first-round picks from the Bulls, you now have 3 first-round picks. You're bringing R.J. Hampton, who has a bunch of potential and upside to me. All he needed was a place where he get a bunch of opportunity, and the Orlando Magic are going to give him that. Markelle Fultz is out. Evan Fournier is just traded. A lot of opportunity and minutes have been opened up for a guy like R.J. Hampton to come in, because he was showing us flashes with the Nuggets. It's just that they were filled, and obviously, on a playoff team like that, you're not going to get much burn or much run to show what you can do. So now the Magic are going to give him the opportunity, allow him to get some confidence on himself, and then when Markelle comes back, depending on what they do in the draft or how they shape up in the draft, that could potentially be their backcourt, or you can have you can have a situation where that is their backcourt. Then you have Cole Anthony coming in as a 6th man. So I like it. I like it for them. And then on the flip side, like I said, Denver, didn't know what Aaron Gordon's value was, but he's going to be a valuable piece for them. You know what I mean? I know a lot of Magic fans are like, hey, great, now Aaron Gordon is going to go play, great basketball. He's going to be amazing for the Nuggets all of a sudden. But as a Magic fan, you shouldn't really care what Aaron Gordon is going to do on any other team. It doesn't matter what he does on the Denver Nuggets, because it only matters what he was doing for your team. For the Magic, he was just a part of a team that was just mediocre. So what's the point of keeping a player who's going to be mediocre for you because he's going to go be great or amazing at another team? No, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? You wash your hands with it. Now you have a clear direction. And like I said, the Nuggets have a more balanced lineup, which should project to be Jamal Murray, Will Barton, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Vucevic. Off the bench, you have Monte Morris, you have Paul Millsap, you have JaVale McGee, you have Capaza, Bo, you know what I mean? So they still have some depth, and they have some veterans off their bench. And I really like the direction that the Nuggets are going. I think this is a very good trade for them. Aaron Gordon is going to fill a lot of holes for them, and it makes them a team to be even more focused on, and to take serious even more going into these playoffs. The next trade is not the Bulls. It feels like the Magic or the Bulls or the Nuggets have been in damn near every trade thus far in this video. But the Bulls end up trading for Troy Brown and Mo Wagner in return for Daniel Gafford and Chandler Hutchison. This is a minor trade, but a trade that I like, because I'm a fan of Troy Brown. There's going to be another trade that Mo Wagner is going to be involved with that I think gets the Bulls better. And then for the Washington Wizards, you have a guy in Daniel Gafford, who I feel like is a nice young center who can fill that void of Thomas Bryant while he's gone and recovering from his injury. And then Chandler Hutchison is just another 3-and-D wing potentially that can get some burn with the Washington Wizards and develop into somebody who can potentially be in their rotation. So yeah, I just feel like it's an even swap. I'm a fan of Daniel Gafford. I'm surprised the Bulls traded Daniel Gafford. When I watched him, he reminded me of like a young Taj Gibson for them. A guy that's coming off the bench, super hungry, trying to do all the dirty work, rebound, rim run, lob threat, block some shots here and there. So I was very surprised to see the Bulls give him up. But nonetheless, they got a guy back in Troy Brown Jr. who's a versatile wing, can even play some, point forward here and there. And then, like I said, they were able to flip Mo Wagner in a later trade that we will discuss at some point in this video. The next trade that we have is Miami Heat. I know we got a lot of Heat fans. Heat were a team that was tied into a lot of different trade rumors and potential trades that some did happen, some didn't happen, which we'll get to. But this trade in particular is Miami sending Mo Harkless and Chris Silva to the Kings for Benelitza from the Sacramento Kings. I love Benelitza. Benelitza fits exactly what Miami loves. And Miami loves bigs who can shoot. That's why they signed Myers Leonard a couple years ago. That's why they got Kelly Olynyk a couple years ago. And now, obviously, Myers Leonard has been hurt, and he had his situation, which got him traded. And now they're basically replacing him with Benelitza. And I think Benelitza is that floor spacing big who every once in a while, every blue moon, is going to have an outrageous shooting game that's going to help them win a game, especially in the playoffs. Kelly Olynyk is always due for that one game where he shoots 6 of 9 from 3, and it helps the Heat win a game. And I think when you have penetrating guards like Goran Dragic, Kendrick Nunn, you have Jimmy Butler, the more shooting, the better. Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. Then you have the bigs like Kelly Olynyk that can step out and shoot. Now you have Benelitza. I really like the trade for the Miami Heat. And then obviously they're only sending Mo Harkless and Chris Silva. Mo Harkless, that situation didn't pan out how we all thought it was when he initially signed in free agency. But they just traded for a veteran wing and Trevor Ariza not so long ago. So he just basically filled the void of Mo Harkless. The Kings, I guess it's the Kings' way to dump off Benelitza in his contract, because I don't really see Mo Harkless and Chris Silva being there long term, anything like that. But a Kings type move. I guess Mo Harkless gives Harkless some type of wing versatility, and Chris Silva just goes into the loaded front court of centers that they have. So we'll see how the Kings utilize that. Then we have another trade, kind of sort of like the Bulls and Magic trade, not to that level, but as far as the element of surprise, this one really caught me off guard and was a curveball, and it's the Raptors trading Norman Powell to the Portland Trailblazers for Gary Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood. This one really surprised me. It was a bit of a head scratcher. I won't lie. I was a bit confused. I'm still a little bit confused for a couple of reasons. Norman Powell and Gary Trent both are going to have to get paid this offseason, right? It's inevitable. Gary Trent is going to be a restricted free agent, and then Norman Powell is going to be on a player option, and this is going to be the last year of it. He's going to opt out, and he's going to have to get paid as well. So from that aspect, a lot of fans are saying, hey, they didn't want to they didn't want to pay Gary Trent Jr. Well, they're going to have to pay Norman Powell. I do get the fact that Norman Powell is better, but I don't think he's that much better than Gary Trent Jr. I don't think so. He should be as better as he is. He's 4 years older. I believe he's 27, and Gary Trent Jr. is 23. But he's not that much better. And this isn't what the Portland Trailblazers need. Even if he is a little bit better, it's not what they need, and I don't think it changes the direction or where Portland is going to go now. Like, this would be different if Portland had got Aaron Gordon, and it's like, they got a legitimate 4. It's some bigger size in the front court, especially since Zach Collins is down, and their bigs have just the injury bug that their bigs have been dealing with. He would fill some holes for them. But Norman Powell, he's shooting better than Gary Trent. He scores more because he played for the Raptors with a bigger opportunity, but I don't know if he's going to continue to score the way he does now playing with Dame and CJ. He may drop down and score just as much as Gary Trent was, if I'm being honest with you. So from that perspective, I don't get it. It hurts your depth a little bit. I know Rodney Hood isn't the Rodney Hood that they've been used to, but he is coming off a significant injury, so I just didn't get it. But I like it for the Raptors. I really do like it for the Raptors. They're going in a younger direction with Gary Trent. Like I said, with the opportunity that Norman Powell was getting, Gary Trent might put up a little bit, a couple more better numbers, may shoot the ball better, hopefully. Not shooting it bad anyway, shooting it close to 40% from 3. But makes him a little bit more younger. And then, at some point, Kyle Lowry is probably going to leave in free agency. I doubt he'd come back. And you have a future front court of Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. I'm a fan of it. And I guess we have to see how it works. Maybe Portland thinks that Norman Powell fits better with his catch and shooting, ability. He's a little bit more better of a catch and shoot guy. Maybe they rather pay him, or maybe they're hoping he'll be cheaper than Gary Trent. I don't know, but it's not a bad trade. I just feel like both sides are kind of getting the same thing. You know what I mean? I know they're two different players, and Norman Powell is better in certain areas, but Gary Trent is younger, and there's more opportunity in Toronto than Portland. So we'll see. Now for the next one, we have a 3-team trade that involves my team, the New York Knicks. It's a trade that is going to be sending George Hill to Philadelphia 76ers get their backup guard, their backup veteran guard that they've been trying to get in George Hill. And then they're going to send Tony Bradley and Terrence Ferguson and 2 future second-round picks to OKC. And then Terrence Ferguson comes to the Knicks. Austin Rivers goes to OKC. And Iggy Brazdeikis also goes to Philadelphia. And then the Sixers are going to send second-round picks in 2025 and 2026 to the Thunder. So it's a lot going on. Another minor trade. Tony Bradley, as well as he's been playing for the 76ers, they obviously have Joel Embiid and Dwight Howard. So there was really no need for him. But the Oklahoma City Thunder get another young big. They've been stockpiling Isaiah Roby, Moses Brown. Now they got Tony Bradley. Terrence Ferguson goes to the Knicks, and he's probably going to have a chance to get some rotational minutes. And then Austin Rivers goes to OKC. He'll probably get bought out and go to Milwaukee. And then Iggy Brazdeikis goes to OKC, which is just a young foundation. Like, that team is just like a youth movement. So they're getting some young guys over there. And like I said, Austin Rivers will probably get the buyout. And then George Hill, a veteran point guard who can shoot the 3-ball really well, goes to Philadelphia to give them more shooting and some veteran point guard play. So I like that deal all sides around. And then here we go. We had another trade involving Toronto, where Toronto is going to be trading Matt Thomas to the Utah Jazz for what? You guessed it, a future second-round pick. The word future second-round pick was probably the most typed thing in NBA trade deadline history in today's NBA trade deadline. This one had the timeline and Twitter going up because we felt like the rumblings and the incoming Kyle Lowry trade was happening, because this is Toronto making another roster spot open. But unfortunately, we never saw the Kyle Lowry trade come for whatever reason. But then the Hawks end up trading Rajon Rondo to the Clippers for Lou Williams. The Clippers also send 2 future second-round picks to the Hawks. And this is where we kind of saw the writing on the wall for Kyle Lowry. All of the teams who had interest in Kyle Lowry started going other directions to get veteran point guards. The Philadelphia 76ers, who I mentioned in the trade before last, they got George Hill. So that kind of crossed the Sixers out of the Kyle Lowry sweepstakes. Then we get this trade with the Hawks trading Rondo to the Clippers. We know the Clippers have been looking for a floor general who can help them in the playoffs. This isn't Kyle Lowry. They got Rondo, so you can cross the Clippers out of the list. And then it came down to Miami and Los Angeles. This trade, though, was interesting because a couple weeks ago we saw Lou Will in the comments on IG saying that his last stop was going to be the Clippers, and that it was either Clippers or Lou Willville, which was AKA retirement. But Lou Will is back home in ATL, so maybe ATL is just as good as the Clippers. Maybe he just didn't want to get shipped to some random place. So we'll see. Interesting for the Hawks. I mean, they do get 2 future second-round picks, but they made a lot of moves in the offseason to kind of speed up the process of what they got going on, and they've been rolling lately, but they still have a lot of questions to be answered. They gave Bogdanovich a big contract this offseason, and his name was in trade talks to be moved potentially during the deadline. That didn't happen. The John Collins saga has gone all around for most of the season. Nothing happened with that, so they're going to have to figure that out in the offseason. Cam Reddish was made available. He didn't get traded. And then they brought in Rondo for the playoffs because they were hoping to make some type of playoff push. And they are in the playoff picture right now as we speak currently, right after the Knicks in the 7th seed. But, I mean, you add Lou Will. They add Lou Will to a jam-packed guard-heavy team with Trae Young. Chris Dunn eventually is going to come back. Like I said, Cam Reddish, Kevin Huerter, now Lou Will. They have some things to figure out. Bogdanovic, I didn't even name Bogdanovic. The Hawks are doing some weird things. It's hard to figure out exactly what they're trying to do and where they're taking it. But we'll see. We'll see how it affects them long term. Then again, we had another trade from the Toronto Raptors where they opened up roster spots. Toronto traded guard Terrence Davis to Sacramento for a future second round pick. This is another trade that had the time like, oh, here comes that Lowry trade. They open up another roster spot. It has to be coming. It has multiplayer deal. But Toronto, I mean, I get it. You know what I mean? They're going into a different direction. Terrence Davis is always a guy that's loved and hated by Toronto for a lot of different reasons. Sacramento seems like a place where they would take a Terrence Davis. You know, a guy that could maybe get some burn and give them another one of those 30-point games that he had in Toronto or something. So he'll get a little bit of opportunity because they have, you know, Sacramento always have like an open spot for some random guy to try to come in and get it, you know, get a nice little game or something in. So I don't know what his long-term plans is as far as Sacramento Kings, but they traded a future second-round pick, so that tells you that they had some type of interest in seeing what he can do for them, along with the line right who they got from the Pistons earlier today. And then the trade deadline hit, and it hit 3 o'clock, and everybody thought it was done. And everybody was ready to be like, "Oh, this team didn't do that." I was even one that was like, "Houston Rockets, you get an L, hold this L because what were y'all doing?" But boom, and just for future reference, the trade deadline is never over at that 3 o'clock mark. It always falls over into the 3:30 mark. I don't care how much they want to advertise 3 o'clock being the ending. And all of my life, trades have always passed that 3 o'clock line. Like it always has gone into the 3:30 territory. So. Anyway, the Heat received Victor Oladipo, and the Rockets received Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a 2020 draft pick swap. So there it is. But Ben Elitza is now replacing Kelly Olynyk and Myers Leonard because Kelly Olynyk is now with the Houston Rockets, and Victor Oladipo gets to go where he always wanted to be, which is with the Miami Heat. So now the Miami Heat would have Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler, Victor Oladipo, Ben Elitza, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero. You know, he got some things going on. I know the Heat are missing that Jay Crowder, you know, Swiss Army Knife combo forward type of guy who can knock down some threes. Ben Elitza is a guy that can stretch the floor, but defensively he's not bringing you what Jay Crowder was bringing you. So they might depend a little bit on Iggy and Trevor Ariza to try to bring some type of defensive grittiness, which I am waiting to see because we all know they're a little bit older. But this is a nice trade for the Heat. Heat didn't really give up much, and the Rockets were able to get something for a guy that just didn't want to be there and was going to walk at the end of the year. I still don't understand the concept of the Houston Rockets trading Karis LeVert to Indiana for a guy in Victor Oladipo who had no hopes of staying there. And then you flip and turn Victor Oladipo into Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk and a 2022 draft pick swap. I'm just not a fan of it. I would much rather have had the Houston Rockets keep Karis LeVert, and now you have Karis LeVert and Christian Wood going forward and hoping that this draft class that's upcoming, you be able to get one of the top picks there, whether it's Jalen Suggs, whether it's Cade Cunningham, whether, you know, whoever it may be, Kuminga, you would hope to just land a top 5 pick in this loaded draft class to pair with Karis LeVert and Christian Wood. But nah, they got Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a 2022 draft pick swap. So we shall see what materializes out of that. And then, again, another buzzer beater trade. We have the Chicago Bulls coming up again with a very, very good move. Man, the Bulls killed this trade deadline. They flipped Mo Wagner, who they got from Washington, in the deal. They got them Troy Brown and also Mo Wagner, and they sent Daniel Gafford and Chandler Hutchison to Washington just to refresh y'all memories and have y'all keep up with me. And then they flipped Mo Wagner to the Celtics for Daniel Tice. Like, I didn't see this coming. I don't know what the Celtics were doing. Like, Daniel Tice is somebody who's been very, very instrumental to the Celtics and what they've done. He's very, very good for them defensively. For them to not have the interior presence that they don't have, he's held it down. For them to lack such an interior presence, he's held it down for them over the course of the last couple of years, to be exact. So this was one that I definitely didn't see coming at all. And they traded him for Mo Wagner, who I don't know what they think Mo Wagner is going to come over there and do. Hopefully he surprises us. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know with this one. I really, really was caught off guard with this one. But I like it for the Bulls. This is another guy who, like I said, was holding it down for the Celtics. He was playing some 4. He was playing some 5. He can hit down some open shots. Defensively, he was a big instrumental piece for the Celtics. playing much more bigger than what he is, and he's going to do that now with the Bulls, who also have Nikola Vucevic and Lauri Markkanen. He can come off the bench. He's been a part of some playoff teams with the Celtics. Like, I really like what the Chicago Bulls did in this trade deadline, and that was another move to add to what they did today. And again, the Celtics and Danny Ainge leave me scratching my head. So, all the Celtic fans who are frustrated, I understand now. I definitely understand. This is kind of unraveled in such a weird place. I know that the buyout market will be happening soon, and we'll see what direction they go. But that one was one that definitely made me scratch my head. And then we had Golden State trading Marquis Chris to the Spurs. Chris goes with cash to the Spurs, which saves the Warriors on a luxury tax for an injured player. So this is one of those minor things. Marquis Chris to the Spurs. You know what I mean? And then we have one that I kind of low-key like. I like this trade. Dallas is going to be trading James Johnson and Wes Iwundu and a second-round pick to the New Orleans Pelicans to acquire J.J. Redick and Nicola Melli. I like it. This is what, the Mavericks have a few things that they're always going to be looking for when it comes to complimenting Luka. That's perimeter defense, that's shooting, and that's shooting with size. And that's what they got today with the Pelicans. They got shooting with J.J. Redick, and then they got shooting with size with Nico Melli. So, I like it. You know what I mean? I like it. I think that's the recipe for the Mavericks, is to just get size that can shoot, or just regular shooting, or shooting in any capacity, and continue to do that until the day that you can go get a shot creator that you can put next to Luka. But none of those are available right now, and they went out and got more shooting, for guys who, I like James Johnson. James Johnson, small ball 5. He brings a level of intensity. He's versatile. Can play small forward, power forward, center. Underrated playmaker for his size. You know what I mean? Hard-nosed veteran, glue guy, locker room guy. I like him a lot. He's going to be a likable dude with the Pelicans, and I'm sure he's going to have some moments with the Pelicans like he did it with every team he's played with. But yeah, to get J.J. Redick and Nicola Melli for a second-round pick and 2 guys that you weren't really invested in as far as the Mavericks, makes all the sense in the world. And hopefully J.J. Redick can start getting some rhythm going as we know him to be, and he'll be dangerous next to Luka. I'm talking about, that is not going to be a sight to see for any teams that's going to have to match up with the Mavericks in the first round, potentially, especially where they're at. They're like 7th seed. Whew. Yeah, imagine being the 2nd seed in the Western Conference, and the reward is to play the Mavericks. We saw last year how close, the Clippers got to being put out by them, and luckily, Kristaps Porzingis needed surgery and couldn't finish the series, and then he also got ejected out of one of the games. So we see how that went. But other news that followed, real quick, the trade deadline. The Cavaliers and Andre Drummond, they worked out a buyout, so Andre Drummond will be a free agent and get to pick wherever he wants to go. LaMarcus Aldridge and the Spurs worked on a $5 million buyout, so he'll be a free agent, and the favorite is to go to the Miami Heat, which means that they'll replace Kelly Olynyk in his shooting with LaMarcus Aldridge. The Lakers and the Heat were front runners to get Kyle Lowry, and all the reports were saying that Taylor Horton-Tucker is what stopped that for the Lakers, and Tyler Hero is what stopped it for the Heat, which I don't blame. I don't blame the Heat, even with the Duncan Robinson stuff. Like, I understand that Kyle Lowry is good and he helps them, but I'm not like everybody else. I didn't understand. I know Duncan Robinson is just a shooter, right? He's a sharpshooter, but his shooting gives the Heat something good. Like, his shooting isn't just regular shooting. Like, Duncan Robinson helps the Heat a lot, especially the Heat at full strength. And we saw that in last year's playoffs. So for them to still have Goran Dragic, like, did they really need Kyle Lowry that much that they will be willing to trade away Tyler Hero? Even Duncan Robinson. Like, I think that the shooting, like, Jimmy Butler is a good enough playmaker at times to have the ball in his hands down the stretch. Goran Dragic had many great games in the playoffs. It's just his injury. And I know he's a bit older, but he can still hold down the fort. So I'm okay with the Heat not making that trade. And then the Lakers, if you were willing to give up everything else, I'm talking about Dennis Schroeder and Caldwell Pope, and they were willing to give up a lot of their depth to go get Kyle Lowry. I mean, you might as well have given up THT if I'm being honest. But I get it. Same with Philadelphia. Philadelphia was just saying that the asking price for Kyle Lowry was too much. And again, that's one that makes me look at the Raptors a little weird, because why are you holding hostage Kyle Lowry or trying to get the King's ransom for Kyle Lowry? So in the last year of his deal, it's $31 million. He's really cannot do anything for you. He's probably going to leave anyway. So you should have just gotten something. You know what I mean? Like, he's crying and we're having like a farewell tour for a guy that we're just knowing going to get traded, and then now he's awkwardly not being traded. I don't know. I don't know. Big head scratcher there. Lonzo Ball, same thing with the Pelicans. That Lonzo Ball, they've put out reports that they don't see him as a part of their future. He was trade rumors all season. LeVar came out saying he hates New Orleans. Lonzo doesn't like New Orleans. He can't wait to go. And we build up all this hype for him to potentially be traded to the Bulls. The Bulls get rid of all their picks to get Vucevic, so now they're out of it. The Knicks probably didn't want to part ways with too much, because it's like, you know what I mean? Like, there was rumored that the Pelicans wanted to trade Lonzo, but then they also wanted whoever they traded him to take on Steven Adams or Eric Bledsoe's contract. It was just a lot of asking and a lot required to get guys that don't want to be there, or probably is not going to be there next season. Like, Lonzo Ball is going to get big bags in free agency. You know what I mean? From a team like the Knicks. The Knicks are still going to probably try to pry him away in restricted free agency from the Pelicans, and the Pelicans probably won't want to match it because they already maxed out Brandon Ingram. You're already paying Eric Bledsoe and Steven Adams, and then you're about to have to max out Zion soon. So you definitely don't want to handcuff yourselves from not being able to get better. So that was a weird one. And yeah, I mean, the Bulls have to be the winner. The Bulls have to be the winner of the trade deadline for sure, to add Nikola Vucevic, Al-Farouq Aminu, Troy Brown, Daniel Tice. The Bulls are the winners of the 2021 trade deadline for sure. Still waiting on word from where Andre Drummond is going to go. I'm gonna check my feed and my news outlet now to make sure nothing has happened since I've been recording for the past 42 minutes. And yeah, the Thunder announced the release of Myers Leonard. So Myers Leonard is officially released from the Thunder, which we all expected. And yeah, we have some trades that could have happened. Trey Lyles almost went to the Mavericks. Then yeah, I mean that's it. We have the buyouts that I mentioned. Nobody has officially signed to any new team since they've been bought out. Losers of the trade deadline, I definitely think the Pelicans. I think not trading Lonzo was a big L for them. The Houston Rockets, I mean, you did trade Victor Oladipo, but that just makes me scratch my head more and more on the fact that y'all traded Karis LeVert and swapped for him just to get Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk in 2022 pick swap. It just doesn't make sense to me. The Celtics didn't address any of the interior needs. They got Evan Fournier, which I like. I definitely will give them credit for and some love for. But, the interior is just... how much longer are we going to talk about the Celtics needing something on the interior? How much? So, that makes me scratch my head. Who else let me down? The Raptors. I like Gary Trent, the trade for them to get Gary Trent, but they made all those moves to open up roster spots and didn't make a move. And just had the asking price of the bid too high for Lowry. And I respect every team that was just like, you know what, we'll just go a different direction. Like I said, 76ers wanted him bad, but they just like, hey, that asking price is too much. We'll just go get George Hill. You know what I mean? The Clippers wanted him bad. They said, hey, the asking price is just too much. We'll go get Rajon Rondo. The Lakers wanted him. They said, hey, you know what? That's fine. We'll just work with what we have. And then Miami, he said, you know what? We're just fine. I respect that, and I like teams doing that. I think Denver made a lot of good moves. And then, a winner is Orlando. Orlando could have had some better trades, but I love the fact that they're saying we're going to put ourselves in a position to have a clear direction of rebuilding. We're done with being this 8-7 seed who's getting bounced in the first round every single year, just to come back with the same team and do it all over again. And now we're finally going to close that chapter, turn the page, and put ourselves in a position where we're going to hard rebuild. So I respect that, and I love when teams get out of that mediocre stage or that stage where they're just stuck with being the 7 or 6 seed and just not growing because you don't have that high of a draft pick to change anything. And then when you're in the teens and you're not known for drafting that well, you're still not getting like steals or anything. It's not a free agent destination, so the only way that they're going to get a star is by drafting one. This is exactly what they were supposed to do, so I'm happy to see them do that. I appreciate y'all tuning in. This is my draft reaction, Pee Wee the Plug. If you're new, subscribe, leave a like and comment. Let me know what you're happy with, what you're not happy with, how you grade your favorite teams and teams that you may not be a fan of. What was your favorite move, and how are you grading some of the trades? Am I wrong for the Portland Trailblazer and Toronto Raptor trade reaction? Do you think that was the perfect trade for the Blazers? Are you confused as me? Let me know. And drop some predictions to where you think some of the buyout players are going to go, like Aldridge and Drummond. As always, I am your guy, Pee Wee the Plug, and I am out.